Kyojuro Rengoku. At the end of Demon Slayer Mugen Train, Rengoku faces off against Akaza, the upper rank 3 demon. The battle begins right after the Mugen Train is brought to a stop. Every passenger survives, but the Demon Slayers are completely exhausted. Before sunrise, Akaza suddenly appears and launches his attack. Akaza fights using his martial arts-based blood demon art. His techniques create devastating shockwaves that strike with incredible speed. Using Destructive Death, Compass Needle, he can sense his opponent's fighting spirit, allowing him to unleash relentless barrages of punches and shockwaves that tear apart the battlefield. Every swing of Rengoku's sword is engulfed in flames as he relentlessly aims for Akaza's neck. Throughout the fight, Akaza repeatedly offers to turn Rengoku into a demon, promising him a longer life and unimaginable power. Rengoku refuses without a second thought. The most brutal moment comes just before dawn. Akaza charges in at full speed and lands a devastating blow straight through Rengoku's body, leaving him with a fatal wound. Even while barely able to stand, Rengoku uses every ounce of strength he has left to hold Akaza in place, determined to keep him from escaping before sunrise. With his final strength, Rengoku unleashes flame-breathing, 9th form. Rengoku, driving his blade toward Akaza's neck. He comes within inches of beheading him, but the upper rank's regeneration is simply too fast. As the sun begins to rise, Akaza panics. Desperate to escape the sunlight, he tears off both of his own arms and flees into the forest before the rays can reach him. After the battle, Rengoku remains conscious even as his breathing grows weaker. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke gather around him. In his final moments, he encourages them to keep living, grow stronger, and never give up. As he remembers his mother one last time, Rengoku wears a peaceful smile until he quietly takes his final breath. Akaza meets his end after his battle against Giyu Tomioka and Tanjiro Kamado inside the Infinity Castle. By the time the fight reaches its climax, Akaza's body is covered in wounds from their Nichirin blades. Even with his head nearly severed multiple times, he continues regenerating at an incredible rate. His devastating punches shatter the castle's floors and walls, and the stronger his opponent's fighting spirit becomes, the stronger and harder to kill he grows. The turning point comes when Tanjiro enters the selfless state, completely erasing his fighting spirit. For the first time, Akaza's compass needle can no longer detect his opponent. In a split second, Tanjiro closes the distance and slices through Akaza's neck, sending his head flying. Normally, an upper-rank demon can survive decapitation. Akaza is no exception. His neck begins regenerating almost immediately, as flesh and muscle form a new head. Even without his head, his body continues radiating overwhelming power. Giyu realizes Akaza still isn't defeated, while Tanjiro braces for another attack. As the regeneration continues, Akaza's memories begin to resurface. He remembers his life as a human named Hakuji. He sees visions of his father, then recalls his fiancée Koyuki and his mentor Keizo. Every person he ever loved died before he became a demon, and those memories completely shake his resolve. For the first time in centuries, Akaza loses the will to keep living as a demon. He realizes how many innocent lives he has taken over hundreds of years. In his final moments, Koyuki's spirit appears before him. Overcome with emotion, Akaza breaks down in tears and finally accepts his fate. His regeneration comes to a complete stop. His body slowly crumbles away, turning to ash. Rika Orimoto. Rika Orimoto was Yuta Okotsu's childhood friend. Her death happened when they were both still children, becoming the tragic event that set the entire story in motion. On that day, Rika and Yuta were walking together like they always did. They had been inseparable since childhood, and had even promised to marry each other when they grew up. It seemed like an ordinary afternoon as they talked, while walking alongside a busy road. There was no sign that tragedy was only seconds away. As Rika turned toward Yuta, a speeding vehicle suddenly came rushing toward them. Everything happened in an instant. Yuta caught a glimpse of the headlights just as the tires screeched across the pavement. Without hesitating, Rika shoved Yuta out of the vehicle's path. She took the full impact herself. The collision sent Rika flying before she crashed onto the road with devastating injuries. Yuta immediately rushed to her side in complete panic. People nearby ran over after hearing the crash, and the peaceful street quickly turned into chaos. For a few brief moments, Rika was still conscious. She looked at Yuta as he cried beside her, desperately calling her name while holding her in his arms. Then her body stopped moving. Yuta realized that Rika had died right before his eyes. The overwhelming grief and trauma shattered him emotionally. Unable to accept her death, he unknowingly unleashed an immensely powerful curse born from his own sorrow. After her death, Rika's soul transformed into an extraordinarily powerful cursed spirit that remained by Yuta's side for years. Eventually, Satoru Gojo discovered Yuta's situation and brought him into the world of jujutsu sorcerers, hoping to help him understand, and ultimately control, the curse bound to Rika. Jiraiya. Jiraiya's death in Naruto Shippuden takes place during his solo infiltration of Megakure, where he sets out to uncover the truth behind pain. At first, Jiraiya has the upper hand. After entering Sage Mode, he defeats several of Pain's bodies and begins figuring out how his opponent fights. But everything changes when he realizes he's not facing a single enemy. Instead, Pain is made up of multiple bodies, all connected through a shared field of vision. The tide of battle turns instantly. Jiraiya is caught off guard by a surprise attack from behind. One of his arms is completely crushed, throwing him off balance. Before he can recover, Pain closes in and impales him with a black chakra rod. From that point on, the fight becomes hopelessly one-sided. Already suffering fatal injuries, Jiraiya is struck again, this time in the throat. The damage is so severe that he loses the ability to speak. Despite his condition, he refuses to give up. Using the last of his strength, Jiraiya carves a secret-coded message onto Fukasaku's back, leaving behind a crucial clue for Naruto Uzumaki. His mission complete, Jiraiya's battered body slowly sinks beneath the water, bringing the legendary Sanin's final battle to an end. Neferpitou. Neferpitou's death in Hunter x Hunter comes during one of the series' most intense and brutal battles against Gon Freaksis. At first, Pitou promises to heal Kite, but it was all a lie. The real plan was to eliminate Gon once the opportunity presented itself. Before long, Gon is forced to accept the heartbreaking truth: Kite can never be saved. That despair quickly turns into overwhelming rage. In a desperate gamble, Gon sacrifices his own future in exchange for unimaginable power. His body instantly transforms into that of an adult, gaining strength far beyond anything Pitou had anticipated. Pitou immediately realizes the danger, but it's already too late. Gon launches a relentless assault with unbelievable speed and overwhelming force. Every punch lands with crushing power, giving Pitou no chance to fight back. What should have been an evenly matched battle turns into a completely one-sided beatdown. Pitou desperately tries to resist. Even after suffering catastrophic injuries, the Royal Guard's body continues moving through pure combat instinct. But Gon never lets up. Blow after blow crashes down, leaving Pitou with less and less ability to defend against the assault. Finally, Gon pours every last ounce of his power into one devastating finishing strike. The impact is overwhelming, ending the battle once and for all. Pitou's body finally goes still, marking the end of the Royal Guard. Genryūsai Yamamoto. Genryūsai Yamamoto meets his end during the 1,000-year Blood War as the Soul Society comes under attack from the Quincy Army, led by Yūhaba. Still serving as the captain commander of the Gotei 13, Yamamoto stands on the front lines to stop the invasion himself. Before his death, Yamamoto engages in a fierce battle against the man he believes to be Yūhaba. He unleashes his Bankai, Zanka no Tachi, whose overwhelming heat scorches everything around him. The battlefield is left dry and devastated as Yamamoto quickly overwhelms his opponent. But after the battle ends, the truth is revealed. The enemy he defeated was only a decoy. The real Yūhaba then appears before him. By that point, Yamamoto has already exhausted himself from maintaining his Bankai for so long. Yūhaba immediately uses his Quincy power to steal Zanka no Tachi. The massive flames surrounding Yamamoto vanish in an instant, leaving him stunned as his greatest weapon is taken away. Even after losing his Bankai and with his body pushed to its limits, Yamamoto refuses to back down. Sword in hand, he charges straight at Yūhaba for one final attack. Yūhaba calmly blocks the strike before countering with his Quincy Spirit Blade. The attack tears through Yamamoto's body, leaving his upper half horrifically split apart. Moments later, Yūhaba unleashes one final blast, completely obliterating Yamamoto and bringing the legendary Captain Commander's life to an end. Mufasa. Mufasa dies in The Lion King after being betrayed by Scar during the infamous wildebeest stampede in a narrow canyon. Scar first lures Simba into the gorge and tells him to wait there. He then orders the hyenas to stampede a massive herd of wildebeests straight through the canyon. The ground begins to shake, dust fills the air, and young Simba is left terrified as thousands of wildebeests charge toward him. Hearing Simba's cries, Mufasa races to the scene. From the edge of the gorge, he spots Simba clinging to a dead tree jutting out from the cliffside while the stampede closes in fast. Without hesitation, Mufasa leaps into the middle of the herd to save his son. As he fights his way through the stampede, Mufasa is repeatedly slammed from every direction. The charging wildebeests batter him with their hooves and horns, but he keeps pushing forward until he finally reaches Simba. Summoning every ounce of strength he has, Mufasa hurls Simba to safety at the top of the cliff. With Simba safe, Mufasa is left trapped below. He struggles to climb the canyon wall, while the stampede continues raging beneath him. Rocks break loose under the constant pounding of the herd, but Mufasa manages to leap upward and grab the edge of the cliff with both paws. Waiting above him is Scar. Exhausted, Mufasa begs his brother for help. Scar appears to pull him up, only to lean in and quietly reveal that he planned the entire trap. Then, with a single swipe of his claws, Scar sends Mufasa plunging back into the stampede. Mufasa crashes onto the rocks before being swallowed by the charging herd. His body is trampled over and over as the wildebeests thunder through the canyon, leaving nothing but dust behind. Once the stampede is over, Simba climbs down to find his father. Mufasa lies motionless on the ground. Desperately, Simba nudges him and calls his name again and again, but Mufasa never answers. King Kong. After being captured from his island, Kong is taken to the city and displayed as a public attraction. Already frightened, stressed, and enraged by his captivity, he eventually breaks free and begins searching for Ann Darrow, the woman he had protected back on the island. Kong finally climbs to the top of the tallest building in the city, holding Ann safely in one hand. From the summit, he stands his ground as military aircraft begin circling overhead. The roar of their engines grows louder, and moments later they open fire. Bullets rip into Kong's body again and again. Enraged, Kong lashes out at the planes, swinging his massive arms and trying to swat them from the sky. But there are simply too many of them. With every burst of gunfire, he grows weaker. Blood pours from wounds across his chest and shoulders, and his movements become slower with each passing moment. Even as his strength fades, Kong refuses to abandon Ann. He continues shielding her while the aircraft attack from every direction. The relentless barrage of bullets finally overwhelms him, and his exhausted body begins to give way. Unable to hold on any longer, Kong loses his balance and falls from the towering skyscraper. As he plummets, his body crashes against the side of the building before slamming into the street below with a thunderous impact. After the fall, Kong lies completely still, marking the end of the legendary giant.